Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hey Sis, Let's Chat. Today we're sitting here with Moneisa, and we're going to talk about self-care. But before we get into that, Moneisa, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Moneisa. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm really excited to be with y'all because one of my passions is working with women of color, particularly Black women, and helping them find ways to take better care of themselves and just tap into our strength more by giving to ourselves because we give so much to everyone else.
Yes. All right. Now, let's get into it. What is self-care? What does that look like?
That's a good question. I think self-care can look like a lot of different things. I think social media kind of portrays one image of self-care. So you have like the bubble baths, you have getting your nails done, you have doing the mask, which are all great things, but there's also other aspects to it. So it's really making sure you're eating really good. It's making sure you're sleeping, making sure you're saying no to people because we say yes or we give of ourselves so much.
That one right there.
That part. Pause there. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, we can. That's probably the whole segment. We can just talk about that. But it's so many things. Like there's physical self-care, there's spiritual self-care, there's emotional self-care. And so we can dive in a little bit deeper to each one of those, but it's really looking at how are you fully taking care of yourself. Not just getting your nails done, not just kind of taking that moment to take that bubble bath or do whatever else, but all the other things. Are we also doing that?
So how do we get out of the mindset that self-care is like bubble baths and all those nice monetary things? And also, is there such a thing as toxic self-care? When we're thinking about how to do self-care for ourselves?
I think that's a great question. One great way to figure out, I think you said how we're doing self-care, kind of checking in outside of bubble baths and getting your nails done. There's a self-care assessment that can share with you all, and it goes through the different aspects of self-care, like your physical, your spiritual, emotional, relational, like are you doing all these things? And you can go through and kind of check off for yourself how well you're doing it. Some is like, I never do this, I've never even thought of it. And then others, it's I'm doing really well in this area. So you can get a really good picture of what areas you really need to focus on more, and which ones you want to keep doing, or things that you never even thought of before.
Awesome.
Check the link below for the self-assessment quiz.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So Moneisa, how do you get rid of like this mindset of mom guilt or like women being selfish for taking that time out for themselves?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing is to think about you can't pour out from an empty cup. And a lot of times we're pouring into other people, pouring into our families, pouring into our jobs, pouring into our careers, whatever else that we're doing. And we have to remember we have to pour into ourselves. We can't do any of those things unless we're actually taking care of ourselves. We're not eating right. We're not sleeping right. We're not taking those moments to just kind of take a break, or we're not saying no to all the things that people are kind of throwing at us. One, reminding yourself of that, right? And then I think the second piece is when you have that pop up, like you're in the middle of doing some self-care and you're like, oh, I should be doing XYZ, or my kids need me, or this other thing. I can't spend time on this because I have this work to finish. You have to remind yourself, wait, I need to take this break. I need to take an opportunity to do this because I'm going to at some point burn out and I can't keep. Do I want to take the time now, or do I want to have to take these days and I can't do anything and I'm really just like, laid out, or I'm sick, or I'm whatever else.
No, that's so important. That no, I'm trying to learn how to say no.
Yeah. I think it all ties into like boundaries.
Yeah.
Because like it's hard to set boundaries, especially with people that you love, because you don't want to let them down, or you don't want them to to feel disappointed in you,
Yeah, that is a huge one. The disappointment, or if I say no, like what are they going to say? What are they going to think? Are they not going to think I'm a good mom? Are they not going to think I'm a good sister, a good, coworker, good whatever else? But again, you can set boundaries and you can still honor those relationships that you have with people. Saying no doesn't stop you from being that good person or being helpful or whatever else. It's being also helpful to yourself and taking that moment. Is this something I can do? Or actually, can I get back to you? I need to check XYZ. You can make up something, or you can always just have like a fallback statement of, that sounds like great. I really want to be able to do that, but let me see if it will work. If it will work for me.
You mentioned earlier about sleep, and I just want to ask a question because a lot of celebrities or people with money like to get on the working class about sleep, how you sleep when you're dead. But can you tell us the importance of sleep and self-care?
Yeah, I'd say it's a huge part of self-care. Like it's one of the things outside of eating. I'd say it's one of the top 3 that you want to focus on. Because when you're not sleeping, you you can't function well. Your brain stops functioning, your body stops functioning. Yeah, some people can function on less amount of sleep, but over time, your body it's not designed to work that way. Your mood and all those things will be affected. So I say the biggest thing is figuring out how much sleep do you need. Like everyone is different. I know they recommend like 8 hours. Some people can function off of 5. I would say that's probably like the least amount. I would say. I know some people say like, no, I get up. I'm good off 3. It's like, are you?
right.
Over time, is it really good for you?
Yeah. Little on edge.
And some people are on the higher end. Some people need like 10 hours of sleep. I would say don't go anywhere past 11 either, because when you sleep too much, your body also doesn't function very well. You can get into the habit of being very like lethargic and slow. But again, figuring out what works best for you.
Yeah. What are your top 3 like self-care tips that you can give us?
Top 3 self-care tips. I'd say one thing I've been talking about is like checking in with yourself, figuring out what works for you. So what are things that bring you joy? What are the things that when you do them, you are like smiling, or you afterwards, you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I saw that person. I'm so glad I went and did that class. I'm so glad I took the time to color, draw, whatever it may be. Find those things. Check in with yourself often, like maybe throughout the course of the day. How am I feeling? Kind of go back to Portia's, your gas tank. Where's your gas tank at? Are you feeling full right now? Are you feeling like you need to take a few minutes and do something for yourself? And then the third one, kind of just reaching out to people. Share with people when you're struggling. And maybe check in with people to get some information on how they're kind of perceiving you. Because sometimes we're just pushing through, right? Whether it's we're on 3 hours of sleep, or whether it's we haven't eaten or doing whatever, we're just going. And other people are like, oh, something's a little off with her, or she was a little like snappy, or she was, whatever else. And, your support system can tell you, hey, maybe it's time, you need a break. Or maybe I can help you out or do whatever.
So Moneisa, can you tell us what are the benefits of self-care?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. There are a lot of studies that show that, the things I mentioned earlier about eating, sleeping, I kind of hinted at exercising. All of those really help your mood, help you kind of function better throughout your day, help you be more present for whatever it is you're doing. I know we have a long list of things that we try to get done, and we try to say, well, I don't have enough time to take care of myself because I got to do X, Y, and Z. One of the benefits is you're more present, you're more able to do all those things that are on your list. And then, exercise, your mood, depression, anxiety, all of those can be affected by whether or not you're moving your body, whether or not you're sleeping enough, and what kind of food you're eating. So a lot of times when we're stressed out, we may be eating more junk food, comfort food.
I'm like checking the list.
I'm a part of that too. But if you're getting in more like vegetables, more fruits, water, kind of eating healthier, trying to have a balance. Like, you have your moments where you're eating the comfort food, or maybe you're snacking, but trying to have that balance, it's going to really help your mood and help you feel better about yourself, but also better while you're doing all the things that you need to do.
How does self-care and mindfulness tie into each other?
That's a good one. They tie into each other because a lot of times we take the time, or we say we're going to do something for ourselves, but our mind is in so many other places. We're worried about what's on our to-do list, what our kids are doing, what, we feel like we should be doing instead of taking this time for ourselves. And so as much as possible, maybe kind of taking a few deep breaths, allowing yourself to kind of mentally put whatever is on your mind, whatever's on that to-do list, kind of on a shelf. You can visualize yourself kind of putting it in a box, putting it on a shelf, just some sort of imagery, putting it in another room, closing the door, so that you can actually be present in that moment and enjoy what you're doing for yourself. I think just kind of taking those breaths, checking in with yourself. Are you really here in this moment? Are you allowing yourself to enjoy it for what it is, whatever it is you may be doing?
Well, Moneisa, thank you so much for giving us lots of great analogies and tips for us to use for self-care, because as Black women, we really do need to be more radical about our self-care and looking after ourselves. So thank you so much.
Thank
you. And
for
we'll see you on
having
another episode of Hey Sis, Let's Chat. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching thus far, and we hope that you continue to tune in to the rest of our videos. In order to let us know what you like, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out the content in the description box. It's going to be full of recipes, information about Roots and all of our different social media outlets, and also ways that you can let us know what you would like to see in the future. We hope to see you again.